everybody, this is Richie from the Metal Cell podcast. First of all, I want to give a shout out to our main sponsors, Rise and Sons, the award-winning brewery in Cork. If you're around Cork City, be sure to pop in for a pint and enjoy the many choices they have in relation to beers and I suppose IPAs, whatever you're into. I don't know, have you been in there at all, Ross, since you're local?
I have been in there once or twice. Yeah, I have. Lovely.
Okay.
Great.
So this episode, I'm delighted to say, is all about tattoos, art, and metal. And I'm honoured to welcome Marvin Silva, all the way from. Are you in New York?
I'm in New York.
Oh, cool.
Yes,
okay.
I am.
Okay, and Ross Daly, who's the local. Welcome, Ross.
How's it going?
Yeah. Are you looking forward to this? We'll see where it's going to bring us, man.
Yeah, I was doing a bit of old research on metal now. I was like, oh, shit. I was preparing myself last night by watching Machine Head live with Dynamo in 95.
Oh, you were?
95.
I was.
Fucking
95.
hell.
It's better than I remember, actually. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah. I think they're one of those bands that, you know, you get into and stuff, and then it's no more than Metallica. You just reach a point where you just go, not into them anymore, or, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first kind of three albums,
Absolutely.
and then I dipped back in again when the Blackening came out. That kind of brought me back in for a while. But I mean, their musicianship alone is just fucking outstanding.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Marv, would you be a Machine Head fan at the start, or?
You know what? To be honest, I never got into Machine Head. I heard them. I just never really got into them.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, all throughout high school, I just listened to mostly extreme metal, you know,
Right.
black metal, death metal, and I kind of just was blindsided by everything, you know, by that, and didn't pay attention to much of everything.
Yeah.
To my detriment, because I wish I
there was
did know more.
you know what? I probably would be guilty of that as well, Marvin, to be fair. You know, I missed the initial Machine Head buzz, but as Ross said there, the Blackening was fucking some album.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's savage.
Yeah, it is.
I think Machine Head, you can't not appreciate the musicianship of Machine Head.
Yeah.
What's his name? Rob Flynn is a fucking genius. Like,
He's a
as far as,
genius,
like,
but he's a dick as well. Like.
Yeah, he's a bit of a savage, right?
So come here. We've loads to cover, but I just want to kind of find out how the friendship started between yourself and Marvin.
Okay.
Marvin, do you want to take that?
Well, Ross did a guest spot at the shop that I used to work at here in Long Island, New York.
Okay.
And we even meet, Ross?
We worked. Yeah, I know you were working at one end of the studio and I was working at the other. We kind of
working.
We were both working, but I think Leanna might have been in between the two of us. We were just busy, but I'm sure we said hello, and then we kind of got to know each other online after that.
Right. And I pointed you towards the beach, right, where you were staying.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah. And then you came over, to, was it the UK? You came over to the UK for a convention, and you and Shane came over to us and guested in our studio.
Yeah.
Quietest guest spot ever, but you came over anyway. It was great.
Yeah.
Marvin, so you were in Ireland, yeah?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I visited. I always wanted to visit, and I found out that Ross is from Ireland, so I'm like, that's my ticket.
Wow, excellent stuff. And where were you originally born, Marv?
I was originally born in the Philippines.
Philippines, okay.
Yeah.
And when did you move across then?
When I was 14.
Okay.
I moved over.
Had you a healthy interest in art at that stage?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I would say maybe an unhealthy relationship with art.
There's nothing unhealthy about art, man.
Drawing and not paying attention to class.
Excellent stuff. So then you settled in America, is it? And what part?
Yeah, man, I settled in New York.
Okay.
And then once I've rooted myself here in New York, it's kind of hard to leave.
Man, do you know what? I was only over New York last weekend.
Oh, you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. My first time I've been to Pittsburgh, New Orleans, plenty of other places in around America, but never to New York. And it just blew me away, man.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
It is. And you know what? The craziness, for me, it didn't matter as such.
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed it. I loved it. And it was only a dip in my toe on it, man. We were only over there for 4 days. It was just too short, actually.
Yeah.
And
did you get any gigs in when you were over there, Richie?
It was the kind of family holiday, but I had everything picked out in case anything kind of was like, in case I was sidetracked accidentally. But unfortunately, I didn't get anything, but I did get the Duff Spar, man, and that was just amazing in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Since
That's
we're
a
on
good metal
about
bar.
art, since we're on about art, man, that place is just like it's just a temple to art, especially heavy metal art.
Yeah, Mecca.
And Ross, so you've been back and forth to America how many times, my man?
I worked over in New York. I can't even remember when it was. It was a good few years ago. But I've also gone over working in California. I did a tattoo festival in California called Music.
Okay.
It's run by what's his name? Your man, the drummer from Blink 182. I can't remember his name, but he organises it. And the reason I went there was because Deftones were one of the bands playing at it.
Okay.
So I tattooed on the same bill as Deftones.
That's amazing that they're and I love the connection as well between, and we'll all take a delve into it. We might as well do it maybe now, even the connection between heavy metal and art and your profession. Certainly as well. I suppose maybe from my point of view, my first kind of inkling in relation to tattoos and stuff would be the bands that I was following. I suppose Slayer, Sepultura, all those bands, they all were inked up by Paul Booth.
They were.
And of course, the only, as you know well, Ross, the only way we'd have any connection with the American scene, especially in relation to tattoos and pictures and stuff, was through Metal Hammer and Kerrang, and seeing these lads sporting this amazing artwork. Would that be something that you, as a teenager growing up, Ross, would that have been inspiring for you, looking at Paul Booth's work? We'll just take him for example.
100%. Like I've been tattooed in Paul Booth's studio for that very reason. Like I got not by Paul Booth, but I got tattooed in Last Rites in New York because I was
way.
Cool. 100%. Yeah. I got tattooed by a guy called Toxic. He's from he's a Swiss guy. But like I remember Kerrang, probably mid to late 90s when they did Tattoo the Planet, and it was Paul Booth.
That was a festival, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was in conjunction with Paul Booth. So I remember seeing Paul Booth and seeing like he did all Kerry King's tattoos. He did Phil Anselmo. I remember I have a photograph. I have it somewhere still from Kerrang of Phil Anselmo being tattooed by Paul Booth in the original Last Rites, and he's reading a book, looking all kind of booky.
I know that picture.
It's classic. It's fucking rock and roll.
That's iconic.
And it totally is. And what's his name? Max Cavalera got tattooed there. So like, I was completely and utterly just like, and also actually mentioned Machine Head. Logan Mader's tattoo, like one of the first tattoos that I saw, and it was in Kerrang. I had it stuck on my wall. It was Logan Mader's chest. It's kind of like a biomech. He's got like a pair of eyes that are kind of melting off his chest. And that was one of the first tattoos that I remember saving and going, this is seriously fucking cool. So like for me, it's always been intrinsically linked. Like the two completely go hand in hand, always have for me. Like.
Yeah. Marv, would you be the same?
I would feel exactly the same. All the album covers that I used to look at, they all had tattoos. You know, it's a part of the look that drew me in with the music. Especially
with the more extreme acts. I mean, the likes of Obituary, even Celtic Frost, you know, all them Ed Repka stuff with Death that you're sporting.
Dimmu Borgir, Dark Funeral, they all sleeved by, I think people from Dark Funeral got tattooed by Paul Booth as well.
Paul Booth was get his hand in everybody.
He's the guy to go to.
And more like I remember like being obviously in my teens, you know, because you would have that amount of time just in your own room religiously just trying to draw these album covers and replicate, you know, what you were seeing. And obviously you never could probably get it right because you didn't have the exact inks and everything that these lads had access to. But like how did both of you know, we'll say, that something a career could be possible in that? Was there some switch went off in your head that went, oh man, maybe I can actually do this full time? Because it's not an obvious profession back when we were, we'll say, going to school and stuff. Certainly not in Ireland anyway, Marvin. Maybe you could take that first, Marvin, and I'll throw it on to Ross then.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I didn't pursue tattooing. It kind of just, like most of my artist friends, fell on my lap.
Okay.
I was going to school. I was actually 1 semester away from getting my bachelor's degree in business management and audio production, which was not my passion. I just wanted to be around music, you know? Okay. But it happened to be a jazz music school. But I also, at the same year, bought a cheap setup, I'm sad to say, off of eBay. It's just to tattoo myself, you know? And then I became obsessed with tattooing in general. That's all I thought about, to a point where I ended up cutting class, and I was tattooing my friends in dorm rooms.
What? Are you serious? Yeah. What age?
I was 18, 19, and then around when I was 21, I decided to leave school and pursue tattooing, and then got an apprenticeship. And then all those people in the shop were all rock and rollers, punk rockers, and I was like, these are my people.
Yes. You found your tribe.
Yeah.
What year did you start? What year did you get that machine there?
2004.
Wow. That was me.
Yep.
Oh, really? Yeah, same time. Yeah.
Same year. Yeah,
you too?
Year, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, 2004.
Yeah, 2004. My mom was not pleased.
Of course. And see, this is the whole thing as well, because like tattooing isn't your average job, obviously. But it's the passion, and like you could always maybe push aside a parent just saying, oh, it's art and that I want to study art, and you know, but like there was a lot of probably conflict in your house in relation to where you were at the time, Marvin, in taking that leap of faith and trusting your skills to jump at this profession. Yeah, did it cause a lot of tension at home, we'll say?
No, it was more it honestly felt natural to just jump in and kind of ask for apologies later. I didn't even tell my parents that I didn't sign up for the last semester of school until they were like, oh, yeah, are you all set for, you know, for school and everything? Did you get your classes in order? And I was like, about that, I didn't sign up.
Oh man. Yeah, Jesus.
But fortunately, I had very supportive parents.
Good.
That's good. And they knew I wasn't they knew I wasn't a stupid guy. I wasn't just gonna drop what I worked hard for just for something else.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't gonna really evolve into something bigger. I felt it more in my gut than anything. I had no plans. I just knew it felt right.
Okay. Ross, Ireland was very different back then. Certainly going into a kind of profession as a tattooist probably would have been frowned upon in a lot of ways. Maybe you could just talk about your own journey up to a certain point, we'll say from school onwards.
Well, I went to school in Middleton to the Brothers, and I was a chef. I studied to be a chef.
Okay.
It was an after school job, and I was all right at it. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just do this and go to college and become a chef.
Right.
And all the while I was doing that, I was playing in metal bands. I was drawing constantly, designing kind of album covers and T-shirts, and just, you know, I was interested in all that. But I was working in the meeting place in Middleton.
Oh yeah, like great spot.
Kind of popular venue, and I would have been playing gigs there and all that kind of stuff. And I hung around with a lot of bikers because it was a meeting place.
Yes.
Who all had tattoos and were all into that. So I was kind of just becoming intrinsically linked with this kind of, you know, cultish kind of at the time underground kind of society. But I had a buddy who was like heavily tattooed, and even like back then, you know, there weren't that many people who were heavily tattooed. But
no, there weren't actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Marvin, do you know Sons of Anarchy? That show.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I never watched it, but I know that.
You know the thing. Okay, so we had our own miniature Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
In this small town, Middleton, where Jameson is always outside a certain pub. There was always these bikes and bikers in
Yeah.
there. That's what Ross is on about there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very rock and roll. But yeah, one of my buddies, he just said, "Look, you should be a tattoo artist." He was like, "You're really good at drawing. I've seen your artwork. Why don't you become a tattoo artist?" And that was the first time I was like, "God, maybe I could." I was 17. I was still in college, and I kind of
Yeah, and you were
dabbled for a
so young.
while. Yeah, I was a baby, but I dabbled for a while, and nothing came to fruition there. The tattoo artist who kind of let me hang out at his studio, he fucked off to Sweden, I think. I remember turning up at his studio like after college. I used to hitchhike down to another town called Yall, and I
Guess
just
where
go
I'm
down and
from.
hang out. Oh yeah, there you go. And he basically just wasn't there one day. It was like a closed sign. I was like, oh fuck it, that's it. I'm not going to be a tattoo artist. So I went off, finished my chefing,
Right.
and then I was offered an opportunity to put my designs into the studio in Middleton. Dennis Dennehy, a dude from Middleton who was running the studio, who's a biker, not a tattooer, but kind of like a patron of the arts. And he just said, "Look, do you want to give it a go?" And he bought me my first tattoo machines, and I was lucky enough. There was some great artists working in the studio, so I started immediately with an apprenticeship. Like, so I was haunted. Like, I was really lucky. It was just right place, right time. Like,
And we'll say the guys that that you, as you served an apprenticeship with Ross, are any of them still doing tattoos still, or?
yeah. Well, I mean, it was actually a lady who taught me how to tattoo. Karen Russell was her name. She doesn't tattoo anymore. She's from Whitegate. But Karen had a studio in Dublin called Sacred Art, which was kind of arguably one of the first proper custom tattoo studios in Ireland, like doing proper, like really serious tattoo artwork, custom Japanese work and old school and all that kind of stuff. And she happened to just move back down to East Cork just when I was looking to learn. So I kind of got this apprenticeship under Karen, not realizing who she was. She was kind of tattoo royalty, like in Ireland anyway, for sure.
Okay.
She'd started actually learning over in San Diego in California, way back in the day. Like, so she doesn't tattoo anymore. She paints basically full time now, and is just a man,
Yeah.
But there was another guy, Raoul, who was working there. He works I think he's in Austria the last time I checked.
Okay.
Raoul had a studio in Cork as well. But yeah.
So a lot of talented people in a kind of, I would say, it wasn't a kind of a community that would have been, we'll say, Marvin, that would have got a lot of publicity or anything like that. I'd say Ross, it was predominantly word of mouth or seeing lads with sleeves or art in pubs and stuff, and it was pure, oh, you need to go to such and such. Would that have been the case at that stage, Ross? Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. Like, I mean, even the idea, if I think back to now when I started tattooing, the concept of the likes of social media and stuff like that was just so far removed from what we were doing. Like, we were making tattoos. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have photocopiers. We didn't have any of that shit. We were just drawing, making tattoos. And you had to hope that you maybe would get a tattoo in a magazine or you maybe get to work at a convention. And it was just word of mouth. People saw your art walking around and that's how you do it. It was totally, and it was like, it was kind of still underground. Like, it wasn't like
definitely underground.
Yeah, it was like, they weren't all crims, but like there was some dodgy fuckers getting tattooed. Like,
that was magical, though, right? That's where the magic was.
Oh yeah, it was class. Right? I loved it. Absolutely.
Marv,
only the crazy ones would dive in.
Yeah, Jesus, exactly. So, Marvin, maybe just talk about your apprenticeship and who was, we'll say, an inspiration, or were there people that you were hearing about, for example, or reading in magazines, kind of going, oh, there's a convention that I could go and meet these people or whatever?
Yeah, the first names that I actually heard were Paul Booth, Guy Aitchison, Philip Liu. Those were my top 3 idols back then, and they still remain up there for me.
Okay.
And because they were the only ones that I saw all the time in tattoo magazines, mostly, that drew my attention. Paul Booth, naturally, because of the dark images associated with heavy music, and that drew me in. And from there, obviously, the more I learned about tattooing, the more I learned to appreciate certain styles in tattooing. And then it actually opened more things for me artistically. I started to paint. I started to look at other forms of art, pinstriping in cars, all these things that tattooing glued together.
Okay. Yeah, because that's a side people wouldn't obviously think about. You know, just the offshoots of, we'll say, tattooing as such, you know, that we'll say as in customizing bikes or maybe designing artwork for albums or even, as you said, cars and stuff.
Cars, flyers. I used to back then people used to put flyers for shows on billboards and everything. Now it's just Evites, you know.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, I miss all that shit.
I miss that too.
So we'll say for both of you, was there one moment in particular that changed the whole way, we'll say, people looked at you as a tattoo artist? Maybe there wasn't, maybe it was just a slow build up or something like that, but is there any standout moments for both of you that you can kind of recognize, went, oh shit, maybe for example your art was shown on a magazine or something like that? Maybe Ross, what about you for that question?
I don't know, really. It was a gradual process, I think. Well, as far as how people looked at us tattooers in general, I would say there was a massive sea change when Miami Ink was put onto TV. I don't know if Marvin noticed it, but it was almost overnight. It changed the game entirely. People were coming into the studios, regular Joes were coming into the studios, mems, you know, and they were like, they had the terminology, like they were asking for sleeves and half sleeves, and they were saying black and grey, and like they just knew shit that you only learned if you were working in a tattoo studio or if you were watching Miami Ink. And that to me was like a huge thing, and it did change the way people, in general, regular people would look at your what you do. You know, we were suddenly more kind of accepted, like. And it got a little bit less metal, which kind of annoyed me.
It got a little bit more commercialized.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Marv? Was there anything in particular?
Yeah, definitely Miami Ink. I remember being an apprentice and watching that show on TV and really studying every episode, trying to get whatever I can out of it. Minus drama and stuff, but I watched all that. I soaked all that stuff in.
Yeah, I mean, for something like that, again, like I can't overstate it enough, Marvin, that in Ireland, like it's just such a different culture in relation to tattoos and stuff at that stage when Ross was setting out. And Miami Ink brought that cultural change, you know, it brought it into the mainstream, and it got a lot of positive attention from the public because, you know, people in Ireland certainly would have frowned on a lot of people and would have avoided people that would have had tattoo sleeves or tribal tattoos and stuff, you know. And suddenly you had the likes of teachers, as Ross said, you know, politicians and stuff coming in getting tattoos just because of a show, you know.
Yeah. No, I tattoo lawyers, I tattoo nurses, doctors.
First person I tattooed when I was in America actually was a lawyer. She was a lawyer and a judge.
A lawyer and a judge.
Yeah, I actually remember it was in your studio in Empire, and she, while I was setting up, she was on the phone to a client or something, and she chewed them out. Like, I mean, she ate them, and I was terrified. I was like, oh God,
imagine if you fucked up on art.
I know. I said it to her. I was like, Jesus, you're scared of shit out of me. Like, I'm afraid of that. She turned out to be lovely.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's just that the US has such a tattoo culture, Marvin, hasn't it, really, to be fair?
Yeah, it does. It really does. Well, didn't Ami James open a shop in Cork?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I met him in Cork. I was there. I was at the opening. He's lovely.
Yeah, it's still there?
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think he has 5 studios around the world, and one of them is in Cork. Weirdly.
He loved it.
Yeah. He's a nice dude.
Very cool.
So I'm just going to throw stuff at you here. What was the, maybe, I won't say famous or whatever like that, but maybe a well-known person that got a tattoo and gave you a big compliment, we'll say, and it kind of inspired you maybe to think, oh, I'm fucking finally doing it for myself, and this is a sign that some dude loves my work or woman or something like loves them? Or was there any of those moments for you?
For me, I remember there's a guy called Charlie Horman. He's a friend of mine, really good tattooer. He's a Spanish dude. I think he works in Austin, Texas now, but he had a studio in Valencia.
Okay.
And Charlie started tattooing a few years after I did, but he's like, if you look him up on Instagram, he's a genius. Like,
okay.
And he mentioned me as one of his influences in a magazine. We were working at a convention years ago, and I think I won an award, and he was there, and he saw that I won an award. And we're buddies, like.
Yeah.
But I read an article then. He had an article in some big tattoo magazine. I can't remember which one it was, but he put me down as one of his influences. And I was like, fucking hell, wow.
There you go.
For me, it's like, it's not somebody who's famous, it's just my peers. If somebody if we only have friends who's a tattoo artist wants you to tattoo them, that always, first of all, scares the crap out of me because they know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's a massive compliment. Like, that to me is a huge compliment.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's a great example. Marvin, have you something like that?
I tattooed, I would say the most, I don't really get to tattoo a lot of famous people, but I would say I tattooed Frankie, the singer from Immure, Frankie Palmieri. And at the time when I was tattooing him, he goes, "Oh, I'm gonna blow you up. Let me. Do you have a Twitter account?" And I'm like, "Man, I don't have Twitter. I had Instagram, and it was like new, and he didn't have Instagram, so he couldn't promote me."
You should get on to him now.
Yeah, he got, and so every time I see pictures of him on stage and I see the tattoo that I did, I was like, there it is.
And what was it that you did, Marv?
I did Vega from Street Fighter.
Oh, wow, you're serious? Jesus, class.
Apparently he's a big Street Fighter fan.
Okay, yeah. So I think, Marvin, then Ross was saying did you take part in Ink Master?
I did.
The show?
I did, yep. I did.
So what was that experience like?
It was stressful while it was happening. Mm-hmm. I didn't really quite sure because I only watched the first season of it, and then I joined season 9. So there were 8 other seasons before me, and I didn't know that the show had evolved. But looking back, it was fun. I like working on nervous like that.
Okay, yeah.
I performed well.
Yes, Dave Navarro was head of that for a while. I don't know, was he there when you were doing it?
He was.
Was he really?
He was one of the judges. Yeah.
Wow. So did you get a chance to meet him? Man, he's one of my heroes, like Jane's Addiction, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. The whole time every time I look at him, I just see Jane's Addiction instead of a tattoo judge, And
was he a nice dude, yeah?
He was. He was a very nice guy. He was a sweet guy.
Wow.
He's a total rock star.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You can't get that.
I would have been disappointed if you didn't say that. Like,
yeah.
And he's some amazing ink done as well, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who would have done a lot of his ink? Could you even guess? Or
I couldn't guess.
Yeah.
I couldn't guess. Yeah, he had them all over. Little ones, big ones. He had tribal armbands from the 90s. He had it all.
Yeah, he would be a good ambassador for that scene.
Yep. I do remember seeing his dressing room though, which was interesting.
Go on,
compared to all the judges' dressing rooms. The tattooers' dressing rooms were like skateboards and punk rock albums and stuff like that. His dressing room consisted of just guitars, candelabras, and painted black.
Brilliant.
It was pretty cool.
That's class.
Like working under that stress, and because you are up against people are competing against you. We'll say if you had you to come up with an idea, just kind of give us a format to the show. Had you to come up with an idea and then tattoo that on somebody, or
so they sprung up the ideas on us. No warning or anything. They gave us, so you meet your client for the day. Right. You meet that person within minutes of tattooing them, practically.
Wow.
And then you kind of just have to think on your feet. And they gave us a total of 3 hours to draw and compose their designs, and then 6 hours total to tattoo it.
Or was it 3 hours? It was 3 hours you got for prep. So I was wondering how long you got for prep.
Yeah, 3 hours, and that included lunch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So some days I had to pick between continuing to draw or eat, and if I don't eat lunch, I don't eat for another 12 hours after that.
Yeah.
So there were times, because I did the show with Tommy. There were times that I'd be drawing, and then he would be feeding me French fries. You know.
Wow.
It was good fun. It was fun. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure definitely what you can take from that certainly improved you 100%, I'd say.
It improved my decision making in what's important in the tattoo, and what'll not necessarily rush and make the process quicker, but more efficient way of working.
Right. Okay.
You know, like take away bells and whistles and only keep what's necessary to make a successful tattoo.
And so, how about the dynamic between yourself and the customer, maybe on the show, and then how you approached it afterwards? Was there any change in that?
Yeah, we kind of kept, as far as the dynamic of the customers and us. We told them to, for a second, try to ignore the cameras and the production crew, and let's just focus on making a cool tattoo and be on the same page.
Yes.
And then once we settle, because sometimes the hardest part is settling down on a design for the person.
Okay.
And once they understand that your main goal is to give them the best tattoo that you can within the allotted time, then they trust you, and then you just go for it and you just tattoo, you know, and they want to sit well for you at the same time. Because I feel like a lot of the people that fail to communicate with their clients, they don't have that relationship. They don't have that trust.
Yes.
And that's important.
Absolutely.
You know,
I would say,
you're not out there
even from an outsider looking in, I would imagine that is vitally important.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Very important. If they don't trust you, they're not going to sit well.
The giant part of tattooing, your ability
absolutely, it's teamwork.
Communicate with your customers, like, it's massive.
Yeah. Now, Ross, is there any truth to the rumor that you enjoy singing while tattooing people?
I do.
Do you think that puts them at ease?
I'd say I put some of them at ease, but not all of them.
Talk to me about building the dynamic, Ross, between you and the customers. At what stage did you find it vital to kind of incorporate that into the whole immersive experience of getting a tattoo? Would you bring that experience then to conventions and stuff like?
What, singing?
Oh, well, singing as well, man.
Yeah, no, I don't know what it is. I think you can either communicate with people effectively and get on with people, or you can't. And I think that the tattooers, not always, but the tattooers who thrive generally are just at ease around people, because, you know, you just have to be. And if you're not, I know tattooers who are brilliant at tattooing but aren't great with people. They're just not at ease around people all the time, and it can be a struggle, like, because, you know, your client is sitting with you for hours. It's like conventions again. Yeah, if you're not comfortable at a conventions are difficult to tattoo at anyway, because you're out of your comfort zone. You could be in a hall you've never been in before. It could be a little bit too dark. It could be a little bit too hot. It could be a little bit too cold. There's loads of other factors. There's loads of people around. Your customer might be nervous. It might be their first time being tattooed, and then they're in front of hundreds of people while they're being tattooed. So you have to be you got to be kind of a bit of a black belt in just dealing with that kind of shit. Like, you got to be able to absolutely make it so if you're at a convention, you want them to feel like they're not at a convention if they don't want to be there. Yes. It's just you and them. When you're sitting down, it's just you and them, and everything else around you is just buzz, you know? Yeah. But you do, like, generally you figure it out as you go along. Like, but sometimes people will ask, like, tattooers talk amongst ourselves about how we can make this experience better for ourselves and for our customers, like, you know.
Yeah. Marvin, would you participate in much conventions?
I do. I actually do about 5 to 6 a year.
Okay.
Now having a baby in the house, it's slowed down a bit, but I'm actually doing a convention next week and the weekend after that.
Okay. And do you enjoy that kind of pressure situation?
I do. Sometimes I need my dose of it, but I'm generally a recluse. Being an artist, I spend a lot of time alone with my own thoughts and my art. So once in a while, I need that balance of chaos.
Yeah.
And I just go out there and I talk to people. But by the end of the weekend, I'm exhausted. I'm sure Ross knows that. It's exhausting talking and.
Oh, yeah, it's shattering. It really is. It's brilliant crack, but Christ, you're wrecked with the end of it. Like, you're
Long
done.
hours. Yeah, your neck, your back, sitting on those chairs. Yep.
Yeah, your liver.
But then you sign up every year.
And what, for example, would be the benefits, apart from obviously getting your name out there as well? Can you make a lot of money in these conventions, for example, or is it more important just to get your name out there? Or is there other things that people mightn't know about tattoos and conventions in relation to how each guy approaches it? Or
yeah, for me, it's networking. It's not, I don't do it to make money. I do it because, first of all, if you go to a convention abroad, you're going on holidays. It's like a working holiday. Brilliant crack. Right. You meet all these new people. Like, if I had met Marvin at a studio, I probably could have met him at a convention, and you just hit it off with certain people, and then they might come to your studio, you go to their studio, and you learn stuff. Like, you learn little tricks, little things. You know, and it's just a social. For me, like, I'd be the first to admit it. I like going to conventions because they're brilliant fun. Like, at the end of the evening, everyone's having drinks and having chats and go for food together and just talk about tattoos, because we love talking about tattoos.
That's right. Yeah. That's what I get from it too. Is networking and traveling, being able to see parts of the world that I wouldn't otherwise get to see.
Okay. Actually, I got my tattoo at a convention in Middleton, Ross.
Oh.
Yeah, it was an Italian artist did it for me. I think he was based up in Temple Bar. There was a famous tattoo place in Temple Bar opposite. What's that records shop? Comet Records. It used to be Comet Records. Do you know where that was?
Yeah, I know. In fact, I think that's the studio that Karen, the lady who taught me tattoo, she used to own that studio, and it was taken over by him. What's his name? God. I know the guy you're talking about. I know.
Really? Yeah, he's an Italian.
Yeah, lovely dude,
Yeah, spot on. He was down in Middleton. Middleton, like, again, Marvin, Middleton has a tattoo festival every year. I'm sure Ross is involved in it to some capacity.
Yep. I've heard of it.
What's that, Ross?
I've worked with it a million times, but it's Dennis, the guy who taught me, or who gave me my apprenticeship. He's the guy who runs it. Like.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And that was where I first got my tattoo. Yeah, it was a seahorse with a Celtic weave running through it, because I mean, I'm from Yod, which is a seaside town, and I thought the seahorse and the Celtic weave would work well. I had found the design, would you believe, in some seaside town in, I think it might have been down in West Cork, Ross. It was a postcard, and I don't know who the artist was or whatever like that, and I just went, oh my God, that's such a beautiful postcard, and I went, that actually would work as a tattoo. So I just kept it then, and whenever I had the chance, then I knew the Middleton Tattoo Festival was coming up in the next few months, so I brought it with me, and it was done and dusted, you know. Yeah. So, but like, again, like with tattoos, I suppose, you know, it's like art. Everybody has an opinion on them, and you know, especially when, for example, let's talk about the Tattooist when they're on holidays, Bodavie, when you go to a seaside resort and stuff like that, ye are subjected, ye are barraged. There's a barrage of fucking bodies with tattoos on them. Like, is it hard not to judge?
Yeah, you see some shit, right?
Yeah.
What are the worst offenders? What are the worst offenders? Come on, let's have a bit of fun here.
Well, when you're on vacation and you're walking around in a pool with a cocktail, and I learned not to make eye contact, because every time I do, they're looking right at me.
That's your own paranoia, Marvin.
Yeah, maybe it is.
It is.
So I've over the years, I've learned to tell myself to just embrace it all. And
It's when somebody comes up to you at a bar or something and shows you a tattoo that they love, and it's absolutely like the worst tattoo you've ever seen, and you have to try to. It's like if a band is terrible and they come off stage, like a local band or whatever, and you have to go up to them and one of them or something, and you have to say something.
Yeah.
You have to go. God, he were loud, like,
yeah, right.
Certainly a tattoo.
I've been at a wedding. I've been at a wedding, and somebody found out I was a tattoo artist, and the guy literally stripped his pants down so he could show me. It became a consultation at the middle of a wedding. I was like, this is not the right place.
Fucking hell, man.
I love it when somebody shows you a piece of their arm that they want to get tattooed on, but there's nothing on it, so they're just showing you their fucking arm. Like, I know what your arm looks like.
That's a great arm.
I just want to show you, and you're like, okay.
Like, I'm putting you on the spot there, but what? Like, let's just say, what was the worst tattoo? It might have been, just for example, you don't have to actually, or if you can, if you're comfortable, just describe it. Like, but I'm sure there's one or two in particular you just went, is that a dog or is it a fucking human or what? Does any of them stand out in particular that just went, oh my God, this person just, what the fuck? Like,
it seems countless.
Yeah, I know there's countless ones, but there's one for me in particular, right? Now, it's possible, Ross, that you could have had something to do with this in relation to the concept, maybe. And it was, and right, and to be fair, right, and let's all agree on modern art. Sometimes it looks better from a distance, or sometimes it looks better close up, right? So I was in a bar, Marvin, right, in Youghal, right, and it was just Saturday night. It was busy. It was a private party. And this girl had a dress, and it was a backless dress, basically. And from the distance, it looked like somebody threw this circular ball of ink, and it splattered on her back. It kind of went off at different angles. And I was just going, what the fuck? Jesus Christ, is that a tattoo? Or did somebody fucking throw something at her? So I couldn't leave it rest. I couldn't. I just had to. I had to go over. And, and what it was, right? And Ross, apologies if you did have anything to do with it, because obviously it's only down the road from Middleton. But what it was a fucking bagpipe.
Oh yeah, no. I never did a bagpipe. I can state that for the record.
Thank you. So but that's what. Do you know what a bagpipe is, Marvin? Do you?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what a bagpipe is?
Yes. Yeah. I love the sound of a well played bagpipe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this girl had a fucking full-on bagpipe tattooed over the whole of her back, and you know the way it kind of moves out,
like the pipes.
So that's what it was. But I was looking at it from the distance, and I was just going, what the fuck? And it was only when I moved in close I realized then it was a full-on bagpipe.
Oh man. Oh, poor girl.
It looked like a Jackson Pollock. I did a tattoo of Jesus sitting on a wooden chair playing the bodhrán. That was a fun one.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You got to think on your feet sometimes.
And that was specific, obviously.
Oh, that was a very specific request. Yeah.
Yeah. Marvin?
Yeah.
Go on. Give us one.
Oh, I can't think of something that I did that I'm not proud of.
Oh, no, Jesus, not what you did.
Oh, tattoos that I haven't done.
Yeah, weird one. Strange one.
Oh, man. There's so many. There's so many ones that like you said, you got to think of the silhouette of the tattoo. If it doesn't look good, it's not going to look good either. I think of the silhouette. Like you said, like the Jackson Pollock bagpipes. I haven't seen much of... most of my tattoos that I see out in the wild are bad, to be honest.
Yeah.
And like Ross said, I just say, oh, that's great. That's a tattoo,
Yeah.
But like what I can say, sometimes I mean, especially in the early years of my career, looking back, because I keep all the photos of the tattoos that I've done, and I'm like, sheesh, you know,
Yeah.
can you move away, far, far away?
Yeah. Now let's talk about both of you are musicians. Both of you have played in a few bands, as far as I know. I know Ross certainly has. Marvin, we'll just maybe talk about you. Accomplished guitar player, yes or no? Or
I used to be. I wouldn't say accomplished, but yeah, I did play with a band for about 12 years. I played guitar for a death metal band.
Cool.
And we played all throughout high school, all throughout college. We played tour shows, mini tours. It was great. It was great. But what I wanted from it required way more push than my friends were able to do. So that's what I love about tattooing. It's a one-man show.
Yes.
If I fail, it's on me.
Yeah.
But I do miss hanging out with my friends and playing a lot. Now I just play the guitar by myself at home for my kid.
Okay. And what style of music? It was death metal, yeah?
It was melodic death metal is what we called it. You know, more like bands like In Flames were influences, At the Gates.
Okay.
You know.
Yep.
So that Swedish sound.
Swedish sound. Did you actually get to record anything or demo?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did record 3 albums.
Wow, give us the name of the band. Do a shout out.
Yeah, the name of the band was Utopia Banished. One of the albums is up on Spotify. Somehow it ended up there. Yeah, it's called Night of the Black Wyvern was our first album, and the other ones were EPs that we handed out, old school style, you know, just handed out at shows by hand.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Ross, countless bands, still singing.
Still singing, yeah. I was in kind of 3 bands properly. Well, I'm in the third one. I was still in.
Yeah.
I was in a band called 213 when I was like 1920 for about 2 or 3 years, maybe 3 or 4 years actually. It was kind of it was pure new metal, like it's kind of the tail end of the new metal era. Like I'm a total new metal. I love like Korn and System of a Down and Slipknot and all that kind of stuff back in the day. Like, so then I actually started concentrating on tattooing a lot more.
Yeah.
And then I was approached by Nono Presta. He's a guitarist with Cyclefly. You know, they were a pretty big rock band in the 90s. And he asked me if I want to make a band. Yeah, fucking brilliant band. So I was in that falling feeling with him for about 5 or 6 years, I think. And we were.
I was listening to Creeper actually there lately, Ross. Yeah, it's a great fucking EP.
Yeah, I love that.
Cheers. Yeah, it was great fun actually.
Yeah.
I loved doing that. But again, like the band, like it's the same thing. Like things can fizzle just because everybody's busy and everyone has busy lives, and if it's not your job, it's just hard. Like, and no, we're in a band called Strafe, and it's not metal. Shock horror. It's the first time I've been in a non-metal band. There's definitely elements of metal in it. Like there's bits and pieces. There's 1 or 2 screens in it. Like, but it's kind of, I don't know what it is really. It's just music. But yeah, I still love playing live. We've got another gig coming up soon now in May in the PAV. And I still absolutely love playing gigs and I love recording music.
And that band is Strafe.
Yeah, Strafe, yeah. We're on Spotify as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking you out, man. Like it's going good for you insofar as that, like you sold out the what's it called? The Sea Church.
Sea Church.
Yeah, Ballycotton. Yeah, and
that was class.
And you know what, man? I'll give you credit because it's not obviously, as you said, your influences are there. Like there's Korn, Limp Bizkit, and they're all your influences, and what you're singing now is a completely different thing. But totally, as a singer, fair fucks to you, man. You have the vocal cords to do it, man. So it's great that you're getting that other side of you, that other creative side of you out of you, man. Be it through lyrics and expressing yourself again through music.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Do you think that's important? Do you think that's important for you as a person to have another outlet for you artistically wise?
Yeah, oh, for sure. It's definitely therapeutic for me. Like I do it, I kind of have to do it. Like I know
Okay.
I do get creativity out of my job being a tattooer, but I don't know. I just need to sing, and I've always been a bit of a I won't say exhibitionist, but I always liked performing. Like when I was a kid, I used to do plays and stuff. I just like being on stage. I love that feeling. Like so to not do it, I don't know. I have to be doing it in some shape or form if I can, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, my job and my life and my family life and stuff affords me the opportunity to be able to do it. You know, albeit part time, but I still get to do it. Like it's brilliant. It really is.
There's nothing like being on stage, right, Ross? You can't get that from tattooing.
You can't. I know. I know. Yeah, it's a different.
I mean, if I could sing like you, I would serenade my clients too, but I can't.
Marvin, what other creative things can you do as a person that just helps you get through days?
So I paint also, but I don't get that rush that I used to get from. I need to be like a little bit nervous in some way. So lately, it's been oddly enough, I discovered photography.
Oh, okay.
But photographing strangers without them seeing, candid photography. So So just walk. New York is great for that.
Of course it is, man. Jesus.
So
yeah.
Walking around and seeing scenes evolve in front of me within seconds and trying to capture it without getting caught.
I love this.
It's like a sport.
Yeah, it is like a sport, especially in New York, because you could fucking
I can get my ass kicked.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. So none of you have a formal art background, lads. Is that correct?
No, I don't. Well, I did art in school, like, but I didn't go to art college, like.
Yeah, fucking art in school. Come on, man. We both went through art in school. Load of bollocks, like, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it was. It really was. I had to do art at lunchtime. We didn't even have an art teacher in our school.
Yeah.
I literally had to do art at lunchtime, like.
Yeah, it was shite, like. Yeah, that was the one biggest regret for me. Because let's go back to looking at all those metal album covers and stuff, the Iron Maidens, Derek Riggs and stuff, you know, drawing them. I absolutely loved it. And they're in we'll say, Marvin, in Irish school, in our Irish schools back. So I finished 1998. I'm not sure about you, Ross, but we'd say from when I started school in secondary school, which would probably be the equivalent to high school, there wasn't even any art classes in there. You know, it was fucking religion. You'd have French, biology, physics, technical drawing and stuff. That's all. There was no art school at all. And it was only when I got out of school, I had such regrets there that I just couldn't fucking express myself artistically wise and get the points that I needed to go into, we'll say, college for that specific purpose. So I kind of went down the other route of going into graphic design, and then I got into college through that way, you know. But very frustrating that way, Ross, wasn't it, for being something like that, for being a person that's artistically inclined in Ireland back in the day anyway?
Yeah, well, it depended on the school. Like, there were some schools where it was a little bit more accessible, but I went to CBS in Middleton, and it was just like, they laughed at me. Like, they did. I think art and music were both lunchtime classes, which means they weren't really classes.
Yeah.
So, like, they just didn't give a shit about it. Like, they were just like, it was just, I finished in 99, so we're around the same time, and they didn't put any emphasis on that. They just was like, yeah, that's cute, you like drawing, fair play, you know. So that's the reason I didn't end up going to art college. But I'm kind of glad in the end that I didn't, because my wife Yvonne is an art teacher. She went to art college the year before I did, and she came out of it brilliantly. Like, she's very successful. But she said that for a lot of people, depending on the style of art that you did, they'd kind of just drill it out of you. Like, if you went to some of the traditional art colleges, if you had any style that was alternative of art that you're into, like street art or like tattoo art or anything like that, it would be driven out. Yeah. So like, you know, it might have been a blessing in disguise. You know, some people, it's not for everyone. Like, it depends on the style that you want to do, graphic design or illustration. There are other avenues to pursue it. Like, you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Are you surprised to hear that, Marvin, or is it a similar enough tale?
It's similar here too. They're kind of doing away with a lot of the art stuff in school as well. If you want to pursue art, you'd have to sign up for private private workshops and demos, and which now I search them out and I sign up and I get my own education, but it wasn't provided really in school.
Yeah.
You know, we had, like you said, like Ross said, like lunchtime classes. No one took it seriously, but I did. I took it seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. It creates some motivation in yourself now. You're self-motivated because no one's going to do it for you, and you just drive yourself. Like
it creates that animosity, doesn't it, as well, against the fucking school. And it's just like, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway, you know?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Marvin, for those that haven't come across your style, how would you describe it to the viewers that are watching?
I do mostly illustrative style tattooing. Okay. I dabble in a lot of other styles like portraits and realism. But I find I excel and I enjoy the most illustrative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ross, similar enough, or?
Yeah, I've leaned into portraiture a lot over the last kind of, how old is my daughter? 9 years, because I've got a child, and it's a lot easier to do portraiture prep-wise than it is to do illustrative stuff because there's more homework. So that was one of the reasons. It's not like it was kind of on purpose that I was like, right, I want to figure out where I can do a little bit less homework when I go home at night, because any tattooer will tell you, like, they're working all day and then they go home. And depending on the style you tattoo, you have to go home and you might have a sleeve to draw up for the morning. So you have to sit down. Yeah. You could be tattooing for a few hours or for the whole day, then go home and be up until midnight designing the sleeve. So that's why I leaned into portraiture. But I still do, because I work in a studio in a small town where everybody was coming in the door. Like, I kind of turn my hands to a lot of styles. The only style that I wouldn't really do now, because there are artists in the studio I work in who do it, is tribal kind of stuff, and the decorative I don't really do that much, but I love doing lettering, I love doing dark, anything evil looking, just because of metal and shit. I've always done that kind of stuff, horror-y kind of shit, and I actually love doing like really bright colours as well. Always have.
Yeah, let's just maybe, I'm glad you brought that up. So I want to hear both of you now, a typical average work day. What's it like for you, Marvin? So
I drive 1 hour to work each way. So I get to work from 12 to 5 or 6 is my usual day. And I get home and I play full-time dad until my kid goes to bed. And then I draw for the next day. And normally like Russ said, I'll draw till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Wow, fucking hell.
And then do it all over.
And is that involving computers as well, or is it
I draw on I have a Cintiq tablet, which is it's like an iPad, but a big pad, just because I like to draw with my shoulders.
Okay.
And I find that the iPad is mostly for the wrist, you know.
Right.
Like, I do miss drawing on paper, but then if I draw something on paper and I bring it to the customer and they make changes, it takes so long.
Wow. There you
go.
So
with digital, it's quicker, you know, so it's more efficient with time to do it digitally. And so, that's what I do now. Digital everything for now.
And how much time then would you set aside for, we'll say, social media?
Like, scrolling and stuff like that?
Well, you could scroll as well and look.
or research.
But like trying to get your name out there.
I try to any tattoos that I'm proud of that fall under the style that I enjoy a lot, I post it immediately.
Okay.
There used to be, I thought there was a technique in posting, but nowadays with the algorithm and everything, I really don't understand any optimal time to post anything. Yeah. So I just post whenever I finish.
Okay. Would much time be set aside as well for trying to figure out appointments with customers? Is that an ongoing basis as well for you?
It's yep. Yeah, so I book out a few months at a time, and then I close the book so I have time for my family. So when I set my schedule, I make sure that I have set times or days off for my family first.
Okay.
And then everybody falls around that.
Okay, that's a good insight, man. Ross, are you similar enough?
Yeah, fairly similar. Yeah, I work Monday to Friday now, but I don't like regular tattoo hours are around 12 to 6, 12 to 7 kind of. I work kind of I start at 9 and finish around 3 or 4 because I've got small kids, they're both in school and I like to see them.
Yeah.
So I drop them to school in the morning. Both of my kids go to school in Middleton, so I just drive straight to Middleton. So I've got like a 10-minute commute, which is great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I work all day. Like I said, I do a lot of portraiture now, so a lot of the stencils that I make, I can do digitally. And there are like apps and filters that I can use. Not all the time. A lot of the time, I might have to make it by hand. That can take a few hours. And then I do quite a bit of freehand work, which means if my customer comes in the morning, I will prep their arm and I literally draw straight onto their arm with Sharpies, like markers and stuff. I'll draw the design there and then. I might have an idea of what I'm going to do, but like if it's Japanese or if it's lettering or some horror stuff, like I can just sit down and just like I might have sometimes I have reference, but sometimes I just sit down and just draw. I just draw straight onto their skin and then tattoo it on. Like I always learned that because the lady who apprenticed me, she did a lot of freehand work, so I started that from the very beginning. I was always comfortable with freehand, which is handy again because it's like less homework. But and then sometimes I just gotta sit down and I've got design to do up and but you know what? It is work, but at the same time, if I wasn't drawing for work, I'd be drawing because I love drawing.
Yeah.
Like I'll put a podcast in my ears or stick some music in my ears and I'll just draw, or I have the TV on, I'm sitting on the couch with my wife, just watching TV and just drawing at the same time,
Yeah. So for both of you, then there's no big struggle with workload or anything like that. You seem to have over the years got the right balance in place now because both of you, as you said, have families.
Yeah, I mean, it ebbs and flows, but generally, for me anyway, it's it's grand. I mean, you've got kids, you've got a busy life no matter what way you do it. So like, you just gotta try and keep the balance.
Yeah. Nothing happens spontaneously nowadays. Everything has to be pre-planned.
Unless your child decides to do something spontaneously, which
right.
a lot.
And the majority of your clients, I suppose, Marvin, you're slightly different because you live in New York. Would there be clients travel in to get ink done?
Once in a while from other states. I've had other people from other countries travel too, which is such an amazing and nerve-wracking experience because you want to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. And how does that work then? Would they email you a rough concept? And okay, just talk us through that.
They just email me an idea, and if I'm lucky, they just let me make art for them without much direction other than their ideas. That's how I strive. I don't like too much instruction.
Yeah,
I just like a loose idea and the freedom to design it. And after a few years of doing that, I feel like I've gotten enough of a reputation to. People know my work or what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ross, same question.
Yeah. I've got people come from. I mean, obviously people from all over locally, but I've got people coming from abroad. I had a dude who came from Australia for a back piece.
Wow.
Did his whole back then? Yeah,
what
he
was
stayed
that
over here. It was God, what's her name? It was the artwork of a lady who does this really cool gothic vampiric design work for like band t-shirts and like album covers and all this kind of stuff. Frances something, I can't remember her name, but it was a piece from one of her pieces of artwork and it was his full back. So he stayed in Ireland for 3 months, I think.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, he bounced around. He went over to the UK for some gigs and he was staying with a friend of his and stuff. But yeah, apart from that, you get people who are just coming on holidays, want to get tattooed in Ireland while they're here, or sometimes people come specifically, and then everyone else is from around.
Yeah.
Again, how would you cost certain jobs? Is it just through, we'll say this, the detail, the time it takes? Give me a rough idea.
Yeah, it varies from piece to piece. It depends on the size of the piece and the
Yeah.
intricacy of the piece. Like, you know, it's kind of like how long is a piece of string. I generally I like to speak to my customers about all that when they're in studio, you know, because there's just so many variables.
Yeah.
That it's like sometimes people are ringing and go, I want to get this thing, and they're like, how much is it going to cost? And it's kind of like ringing up a car sales place going, I want a black car, how much is it going to cost?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me at the shop, I just do by the hour. I charge them an hourly rate. But when I am in traveling at conventions per se, so they're not watching their clocks while I'm tattooing them, I just give them a fixed price.
Okay.
And sometimes I shoot myself in the foot and I undercharge, or sometimes I overcharge.
Yeah.
But you know, you say a price and they say yes, and you just go for it.
Yeah, conventions. Yeah, that's a different fish altogether, isn't it, Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah, time seems to it either stand still or it just vanishes when you're in a tattoo convention. You could be like 2 hours getting a stencil on that would normally take 10 minutes just because there's a load of different things going on around you, or sometimes you're just it's a bit of a time warp, so it changes the game entirely.
And would the skin obviously play its part as well? Customer skin.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
Maybe talk about that.
Yeah, I'd say the healthier the person, the better their skins to get tattooed. You know, if the person's out drinking the night before and they come to you, or say they're like on vacation and they've been out in the sun, they've been drinking for a week, and they come get tattooed by you, that's a headache.
Wow, this is a different side of things now that maybe people didn't know. Okay.
Or like, you know, maybe you get a construction worker who's out in the sun all day long. Everybody wants to get tattooed, you know, so sometimes it's like leather.
I remember tattooing the back of a guy's neck. I think it was the first time I ever tattooed the back of a guy's neck, and he worked outdoors all the time, and it was like tattooing a saddle or something. It was just like, gee.
There's just blood everywhere.
Yeah, blood and just no ink going in. Just like it was just tearing his neck apart. What the fuck?
You look at your machine, you're like, what is this? This is
Oh, that's fantastic. Jesus, again, that's something now. What about, there's another thing, just people have skin pigments, molds and stuff. How do you approach stuff like that? Do you tend to kind of say, oh, well, maybe it's not a good idea to have it if there's a kind of a mold there or something like that? Or
yeah, I just work around it.
Okay.
I create a gutter around the mole.
You what?
I just create a gutter, you know. I show a little bit of space around the mole, so I don't tattoo all the way up to the mole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so if they need to go see a dermatologist or something, it's much easier to spot. Or I just generally, if it protrudes over the skin, if I can touch it and feel it, I just don't tattoo over it.
Yeah.
Once in a while, though, I'll see a whitehead or a pimple, I'll just go over it.
And maybe difficult customers, I presume. Well, I hope they're not as frequent as they were initially when the whole tattoo boom came out. Is it an ongoing thing, like dealing with the public? As I have known, doing various jobs is the worst fucking job in the world a lot of the time, because people arrive in there, man, with fucking moods and shit like that as well. Difficult customers, is there a way of dealing with them, especially as a tattoo artist?
When you're self-employed, you can just tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah, right.
I've only ever had to do that maybe twice. I'm lucky because I work in a studio in a town that people come to get tattooed, and it's not like they're not walking in off the street generally.
Yeah.
Like if it was in a city, it's a different story. If you're like in London and you're on a high street, you can just wander in.
Yeah.
That's when you're dealing with people, not just because it's London, but you know, that's an example.
Yeah.
Where you're just dealing with a large population of people, and they just wander in because they see a tattoo studio, and you can just get any crazy fucker. Whereas generally in a custom tattoo studio, I don't know if it's the same for you, Marvin, people, they come to you because they're serious about getting tattooed and they know what you want, what you're doing on them. So generally, for the most part, they're happy to get tattooed by you. They're happy for you to do the work. and they're cool. They're really cool. They're you know, they're your kind of people, like.
Yeah, for sure. And once in a while you do get the art directors, and can seem to relinquish a little bit of control.
Yeah.
But you just kill them with kindness for a few times, a few sessions, and then sometimes you just have to part ways.
Yeah.
You can't please everybody, and you just let them go.
What about, we'll say, the customers that come in? Again, you have to kind of use your sixth sense. Like, we'll say teenagers that come in off the cuff, hoping to get a tattoo, and knowing full well that there's probably repercussions down the road with their parents and stuff like that. Do you have to be the kind of father figure to some of them and kind of put the arm around the shoulder and go, is this a good idea or not? Like, has that occurred?
Yeah, for me, like I there's certain tattoos if I think somebody's too young, like if they're gonna, an 18-year-old or 19-year-old person comes in looking for something on their neck,
or their
and
forehead,
they've got no other tattoos or something, or like, I'm just gonna say no. I'm just gonna say, look, I don't want to do something that could have a really negative impact on your life. I turned away
Ross. Yeah,
neck tattoos, all that kind of stuff, because I don't need to. And it's just bad juju for me. Like, I'm like, and I'm nice about it, and I explain why. And if they want to go and get tattooed somewhere else, cool. But I don't want to. It's not my cup of tea. Like,
yeah, right. At least it's off your conscience, right?
Yeah, and you're not trying to fucking make a quick buck off some fucking naive person. That.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, lads, that comes with fucking years of doing it anyway. I mean, you could recognize the vulnerability in somebody like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's finish it up. And what's your favorite place to travel and to tattooing? Marvin, over to you first. If dream place now, like
dream place.
Yeah.
Actually,
to travel to and to tattooing. Budget is not an option. Everything is paid for.
I would love to go. I went to New Zealand a few years ago to tattoo, and
really,
that was an amazing experience. I actually got tattooed there on my finger.
Oh, class.
But
is that a Maori weapon or something?
Yeah, Maori symbol. I honestly, I didn't know what it was. I just went to an old fella, and I said I want all 4 fingers tattooed, and he goes, "We'll do one." I was like, okay. But as far as like pretty, it's definitely a beautiful place to visit, and that was a dream for me because I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan.
Oh, you did the tour, did you?
I did. My wife and I rented a car and just went all over. We did the convention, which was only 2 days, and then we fucked off for 2 weeks.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that's your dream.
These are the things that tattooing can give you.
Yes.
If you allow it,
Yeah. Ross, favorite place to travel to and tattooing?
I'd love to go to Japan.
That's a good one.
I want to get tattooed in Japan. I want to get a proper Japanese tattoo in Japan. Just because it's one of the meccas especially for like the kind of tattooing that we do now. Like a lot of it we owe to Japanese people, like sleeves and back pieces, and the blueprint for like modern day tattooing was set up by the Japanese, and I just, apart from the fact that I just love the culture, I love Japanese food, so that's why that for both I'd love to tattoo there, and I'd love to get a tattoo there.
Yeah.
Had you the chance to ever travel there, Ross?
No, I've never been to Japan. The furthest east I've been is Cambodia and Thailand. Actually, back when I was still an apprentice, me and a friend of mine went over there. Jesus, nearly fucking 20 years ago now. It was class. It was amazing. We went to like Angkor Wat in Cambodia. The big temples in the middle of the jungle and stuff.
Yeah.
Went and did all the islands and did like scuba diving, and it was an amazing experience. Like we went for 7 weeks maybe altogether, but it was just going to like Southeast Asia was incredible, but I'd love to go further east. And like it's so far removed from our culture, like Western culture. I'd love to experience it. Like I love going to places that are vastly different. Like if I go to I go to a country and I see something on the menu that I don't recognize, I want to eat that because I want to see what it is like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up about Japan and, you know, the historic culture of that. Is it something that both of you are fascinated in relation to your professions as tattooists, that
Absolutely.
you kind of look back to sometimes maybe to be inspired going forward? Would that be?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
What would you be looking
I've
at?
become more of a geek about it over the last years. I used to when I started first. It was just like, yeah, cool. Now I'm like, the older I get, the more I'm looking back going, yeah, this shit is like
And that
all
makes
of the
sense though,
history.
Ross. It does. Like
Yeah.
it just it's the same as music. I mean, there's the more you play it, there's a maturity that comes with recording, and you know, and I'd like to think it's the same with artists as well as tattooists. Is you're of the same ilk, and it's just where do you draw that well of inspiration from, you know?
Yep.
And Marvin, what particularly would you? I mean, Ross name check there, Japan and the whole culture there. Is there any other culture there that you would be inspired by? I mean, I was in the Met in New York there last week, and they had this incredible Egyptian display there.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
I
mind
love the
blowing.
Met. That's one of my favorite places to visit in New York.
Yeah, yeah,
Every time I go to the city, I go to the Met.
yeah. So,
Actually, where I proposed to my wife is at the Met.
are you serious?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, that's hard to beat. Like,
It's that special
hardly
place.
Eiffel Tower, you know, but otherwise.
Right, right. But yeah, I would love to go to Japan as well because there is beauty in the simplicity and the ways they do things.
Hmm.
As far with just looking from the outside, I'm sure it's complex. You know, they make it look easy, but it's lasted centuries. You know,
Yeah, of course it has,
their
man. Yeah.
methodologies and their artwork and everything, and it still holds pretty strong.
Yeah. Like there's a big thing there as well, Ross, that the Irish can draw from is the Celtic culture, man.
Absolutely, yeah. I've been trying to look into a lot more Celtic mythology. Like Celtic mythology is just so rich and
It
so
is.
class. Like God Almighty, I'm still waiting for somebody to come out and make a proper like Kieran and Og or Cú Chulainn movie or TV series, something with
Yeah.
real like. Cause Jesus, it's like you see all these Vikings shows and all these
Yeah.
Marvel superheroes and stuff, and there's like such a rich well to dive into there. Like,
Yeah. I mean, Jim Fitzpatrick stuff with Tin Lizzy, lads. It's just iconic.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. That's one of my claims to fame. Actually, I was just to design years and years ago. I was approached by a lady who was doing it was a strip for Munster rugby team at the time. It was about God, 10 years ago, maybe.
Hmm.
They were looking at a few different artists to come up with, they were asking different artists to come up with concepts for design,
Okay.
and I was one of the artists on the list, and so was Jim Fitzpatrick.
Wow.
So
Are you
I was
serious?
just,
For Munster?
I was the list. Yeah, I just, did what I did and sent it in, and I wasn't successful. It wasn't a competition. It was like they just approached different artists, and
Yeah.
she said, "Oh yeah, Jim Fitzpatrick is another one of the artists," and I was like, "Fucking
Wow.
hell."
That's man, you're
Yeah,
punching above your weight there, kiddo.
yeah.
Fucking hell, that's so cool.
Well, I lost.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I know.
So the last thing there, lads, where's the future in tattooing? What can it evolve to? I know that you both said that you're using technology now that you wouldn't have fucking imagined maybe 10, 15 years ago to make your lives easier in relation to, you know, getting work done as such. But have any of you any ideas in relation to where it can advance to?
I'm hoping that it kind of steps back to the retro ways again.
Okay.
So it's because I feel like it's losing its magic, its spirit, because everybody wants the instant gratification with social media and everything.
Mm.
I miss those days when everything was word of mouth and passing around business cards and flyers and things like that. So I'm hoping that it goes back to where people are sought after and and collected.
Yeah.
As opposed to just, oh, I want to get tattooed by this guy, and then I want to get tattooed by the next guy and the next guy. Yeah, sure, there's money to be made, but the spirit is gone.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the culture we're in, and that you're spot on at the moment, Marvin. It's just like bang, 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 and
Yeah.
move on. Ross?
Right.
I think robots are going to learn how to tattoo and fucking kill us all.
AI, fuck off.
AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with Marvin. Like, it's a cliche for, older people to want things to go back to the way things used to be. It's such a
We're all the
cliche.
same ultimately, aren't they? Of a
We
certain
are,
age, yeah.
Oh, it was like that band when they weren't famous, but still, the idea is true. Like, I liked tattooing because it was not because it was underground, but I liked the danger. And I like when tattooing is like, actually, a friend of mine passed away the other day, a biker, one of my first clients. His name was Henry O'Brien, the Axeman. He was in Rebel Riders in Middleton. And he was one of my first ever clients. Henry was, like, when I was 21, he was probably in his 40s, or maybe late 30s, early 40s. And he was a big, intimidating, scary man, lovely guy. We were tattooing a Harley Davidson on the back of his hand. He's a fucking big, massive, meaty hands. And that was cool. Like, I mean, that was like, it was like a cult. It was this underground little kind of club that we had. And I know it'll never go back to that, but that kind of feel, at least.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant stuff, lads. I'm going to end it with that. It was an honor to finally get a show in relation to tattoos and metal. I know we didn't talk about too much metal, but I really wanted to get across how a tattooist like yourselves can, well, not an average, I mean, proper professional tattoos will just spend an average day, and, what inspires you, and, ultimately your family men now, and it's great to talk to you and just hear about your lives, and long may it continue, and thanks for coming on the show, lads.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so Marvin, how can people find your art? Where do they find you, my man?
I'm on Instagram. Marvin Silva Tattoo is my handle.
Right.
And that's also my Twitter. I now have a Twitter account as well, which I don't. And everything is marvinsilvatattoo.com. That's my website. I make it easy for people to find.
Excellent stuff. Ross?
Yeah, Ross Daly Tattoos on Instagram, and rossdailytattoos.com, and there's links to Facebook, Instagram. I'm not on Twitter though. I tried. I just find it fucking boring.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I don't see the big deal.
Yeah. So that's it, everybody. Listen, thanks again, Marvin and Ross, for coming on the show. Really appreciate taking the time to come in and explain your wonderful creations and artwork. And long may it continue, and long may you bring happiness to people's lives through your art. Thank you, lads.
Cheers.
Thank you.